Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Biggleswade Town Council meeting this evening. The usual reminder that this meeting, to meeting attendees, that this is a formal meeting. I can advise that members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak during the public open session and not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the data protection rights of that individual, and the usual sort of comment around keeping your microphones off when not speaking, please, if you don't mind. So first item there, apologies for absence. We have Councillor Patel not with us this evening. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest in relation to any item on the agenda, please? Councillor Barrett.
Item 9D, non-pecuniary interest.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No, okay. So I'm going to go on to item 3, Town Mayor's announcements. So I've got a few things just over the last couple of days, really. But the first thing was relating to the 30th of October. I actually attended the AGM of Respite at Home, which on the face of it doesn't sound particularly exciting. But actually what happened, I was invited to it, to an AGM, and as one of the attendees was a dance teacher. And we ended up actually being involved in a sort of a dance session within the AGM, which was somewhat spontaneous and unplanned. So I realised that my relatively sedentary lifestyle made it a little bit, I fitted into the category of arms going backwards and forwards and legs going backwards and forwards. So something apparently Respite at Home do very well. And Respite at Home, they're actually one of the organisations that we've actually given a grant to this year. So it's part of the reason why I wanted to go and see that. The second thing I wanted to talk about was on the 10th of November, on the evening of 10th of November, obviously invited to the Diwali celebrations in the Weatherly Centre. A number of other councillors attended. I think actually it's a really, really enjoyable event. Some enjoyed it perhaps more than others for different reasons, but it's actually really nice to celebrate Diwali with the members of the community. And it's good food, good music, and actually a good event. So really good. Next, Armistice Day on the 11th of November. We had councillors and obviously members of the public on the 11th in the Market Square. Again, very well organised and sort of fairly sombre occasion, of course, but organised by British Legion with involvement for the Town Council. And I think the other one clearly is that on the 12th of November, we had Remembrance Parade. And I think on this one, we had obviously a lot of councillors, but really good attendance from members of the public as well. It's really, really good. But I particularly wanted to recognise the Town Council staff and officers, particularly Funda. I'd like to acknowledge, Funda, your own contribution there. I think it was really well received. Thank you. But also others out and about within the Market Square, and Public Realm team in particular did a really, really good job. Isaac coordinating them. But again, really, really nice event. So the weather didn't help us, but other than that, it was a good event. So we'll leave it there. So the next thing is public open session. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak? Councillor Fage, no. No, okay. So in which case we'll move on to item 5, invited speaker. We have none. Item 6, members' questions. Any members' questions, please? No, okay. Item 7, then we're going to go on to the minutes of the Town Council meeting of the 24th. So firstly, page 7 for accuracy. Happy. Page 8 for accuracy. Page 9 for accuracy. Page 10 for accuracy. And page 11. Okay, happy with that. Thank you. So you're happy me to sign those off as an accurate representation? Thank you. So we'll move then on to 7B is for members to note the minutes of the PLOS meeting of the 3rd of October. Proposal is to note them unless members particularly want to talk about it. Clearly, we have a couple of other items that relating to PLOS. If you want to comment on those, you can do at this point. We don't have the minutes of was it the 21st? I've lost track of the date. The other PLOS meeting, 24th. So we haven't got those minutes as yet. So again, for noting, unless you want to discuss, sensing nothing. So okay. Joint Committee 7C. Again, Councillor Barrett.
I'm sorry. On the report you just discussed, on page 15. Section C, first bullet point, draw down an indicative 182,000 in 2022-34. Is that the period, or is that the accounting year?
I think so. So this was a recommendation from PLOS. This has been essentially, for want of a better way of putting it, superseded by other events. So it's a recommendation.
But is that the right date? That was fine. Okay.
Yes, you're quite right. Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the point. Okay, thank you. And clearly, these minutes are going to be. I think we'll come back to PLOS. I don't believe they went to PLOS, so they'll go to the next PLOS meeting with the one from the 24th. Thanks for the point, Councillor Barrett. So 9. So anything on joint committee, Councillor Russell?
Could I just say, given the email we've had today from Isaac Lord about the town centre vision, that there are 4 items mentioned in the joint committee minutes for which the UK SPF fund could be used, because the 90,000 that's available for the town council, we have to have agreed it with Mid-Beds by February, and that's not going to be appropriate for spend on whatever we come up with for a vision, because the vision then has to be taken forward with colleagues from Central Beds and with other stakeholders. So I just point out, we've got the surfaces in the market square which are hazardous, we've got the power supply sources, we've got the idea of brown directional signs to the town centre from the A1 and other entrances to the town. And then Councillor Whitaker's idea about the digital car park signs. So there are 4 things there that we could start to look at as a town council that we could do now and that wouldn't be impeded by any future decisions on the vision. So okay. I'd hope that at some point a paper can come to council on that.
Happy with that, Peter. Thank you, Councillor Russell. Okay, and then item 7D, the minutes of TCM. Again, for noting, unless you particularly want to comment on them. No, okay. So I am going to then move back to the town council minutes. So again, matters arising in relation to page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, and page 11. Okay, thank you. I've just realised what I should have said at the beginning of the meeting, that item 9A, my proposal from the chair is that we deal with the Public Works loan update report at the end of the meeting. So prior to the exempt session, but immediately after the second public open session, so that we're in a position where if there are items that we feel that we need to discuss in relation to that report, we can go into the exempt session. So there's a bit of an element that there's an exempt session for 4 or 5 items that are item 15 and 16, which we're proposing to go into exempt, but by going to the public loans right at the end, there may be elements of public works that we can discuss in exempt if there's a need to do so. The aim will be to try and deal with, wherever possible, the items in the public works in the public domain. But if there are items that members feel that they wish to discuss in relation to the reports, the exempt reports, then we will have to go into the exempt session. Peter, do you want to say happy with that? Okay, so on that basis, then I'm going to go straight past item 9 and go straight to 9B, and this is the opening of new bank account for Lindsell's Bequest Charity. So you have the report there. Do you wish to add anything to that, Mr. Young? So
It's not really to add anything. It's just to say that from the recent internal audit report, it was suggested that the Lindsell's bequest was accounted for separately, and as part of this, that we should open a separate bank account.
Okay, members, over to you. Anyone? Councillor Russell?
I'd just like to move the recommendation.
Seconded by Councillor Strawn. Councillor Alban?
Yeah, there's a question. The current Unity Trust Bank signatories are listed here. Do we need extra signatories for this extra account, or will the same signatories be okay?
So Councillor Alban is asking whether we need additional signatories for once we open this account, if we did open this account, or can we deal with it as we are?
I think the way that Unity Trust work, actually they just repeat the same signatories for each account.
So if that isn't the case, then in due course you'll advise, assuming that members are happy to go ahead with this recommendation. Yep. Okay, so have a proposal and seconded. All those in favour then, please. That's unanimous. Well done. Thank you. So next one is 9C, which is the ice rink report. Who's introducing, please? Do you feel there's an introduction?
I don't think there's anything further to add, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Comments, please, members. Councillor Woodhead.
Thank you. I think it's a bit sad that we're unable to, or the recommendation is not to go ahead with it this year. But I see what other colleagues think. But I mean, maybe having a 12-month sort of run up to next year will give us more time to have sponsorship and look at other things in the round. But I do think this could be a really interesting and important fixture for the town's Christmas, Christmas sort of offering. There are other ice rinks around in local towns I know people from Biggleswade go to, so it would retain more people in the town and more, particularly people with children as well. So I think we ought to be bold and ambitious and look at this, even if the mood isn't to have it for this year. But I really do think this is a way of looking and expanding our Christmas offering in years to come.
Thank you, Councillor Woodhead. Councillor North and Councillor Russell.
Well, just one comment on it. Rather than doing it ourselves, I mean, is it possible that there is some sort of outside contractor that would come along and do it for us, and we just say, okay, yes, you can do it, get on with it, and they collect the money for it, presumably it'd be chargeable, and incur the expenses, so we're not exposed to any risk of loss ourselves, and we're not involved in organising it at all, in the same way as we have roundabouts and things are provided by the funfair people.
Yeah,
we're not involved as a council. We just say yes, get on with it. And can't we do it the same way for the ice rink? Is that possible?
I think that's actually the intent. That would have been the intention to do it in that direction, Councillor North. But the recommendation currently is not to go in that direction. But it would be a supplier. But the supplier provides the service for us.
Yeah,
that's what
I meant for the future. I wasn't questioning.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Okay, Councillor Russell.
I think I would like to move the recommendation that it is to defer. We've heard what Councillor Woodhead said. It's a shame about this year, but let's make sure it happens next year. So I move the recommendation.
Okay. I've got Councillor Strawn. Thank you. I've noted. Councillor Strawn.
I second that recommendation. I think it's clearly impractical to even consider it for this year now, disappointing though it may be. And I'd take on board Councillor North's comments, which I hope will be included in the report to Town Centre Management, because I think personally that's probably the way to go, because it means there's no risk to the council, no risk to the council taxpayer.
Okay. Anyone else wish to comment then? So I've got a proposer, seconded. All those in favour of that, then please. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. We will move on to the next item on the agenda then, which is the item 9D Wharf Mews. Fairly straightforward. Comments, please. Anyone wish to comment? Councillor Russell?
We had representations to council during the last session about this. We've had members of the public getting in touch with councillors and asking for the restrictions on this very narrow piece of Wharf Mews. And it does restrict, if people don't park properly on that narrow section where there looks as if there's a bit of a lay-by, but if you don't park right close in, then it comes down to single file traffic. So I think we should welcome what's being proposed by Central Beds here.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Russell. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Barrett?
I have a non-pecuniary interest, but I can still comment, I think, on the this particular area. I agree everything with Councillor Russell. However, the shorter part of red on this diagram runs along the line of a number of hedges and bushes and things that, if they were cut back and the curbstones were just moved back, it would stop the narrowing of the road. I actually think the solution being suggested isn't the right solution. I think the problem is there is a problem, but the solution is the wrong problem. I think by just stopping the parking there, it'll just move the parking in another place, and there'll be another set of residents saying that there will be issues with parking. So I think the solution is the wrong solution.
Okay, so I think Councillor Russell, you proposed that we welcome the action being taken. Councillor Barrett's has got a view that welcomes the taken action, but not the action being proposed. How do we proceed, members? How would you like to go with this?
I'm happy that mine is just taken as a comment only.
Okay, so I think it's a valid comment, because I think we should. It's an easy solution to put double yellows down, but it actually isn't necessarily the right one. So I think on that basis, Councillor Russell, so if we welcome the report, make the comment within the.
I'm proposing that we make the report. I'm quite happy to say that hedges should be cut back, but I'm not convinced by what Councillor Barrett says on this point.
Okay. So any other comments before we go to a vote on this one? Go on, Councillor Alba. Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry, I've got caught out there. So could I have a second of that proposal, please? Thank you. Councillor North seconding. Oh, did you? Were you second? Oh my goodness, it's not going well already. So we have a proposal. We have a seconder. Although.
Sorry, can I just ask a question?
Yes. So
when we are in this situation where we've had this, how does this work with Central Beds? Has it already gone to consultation?
It has, yes, yes. So I think we can make the comment. Whether or not they will take any heed of those comments is a different matter, given that it's already gone out to consultation in relation to the double yellows. But it's absolutely right that we feed back the comments made. So so proposed, seconded. All those in favour, please. Thank you. Where are we? My apologies. I'm half asleep here. So those against, please. So, any abstentions? Thank you. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Skills. You're quite right. I'm going to have to have a drink, I think. Right. Item 9E. Central Bedfordshire Council's draft planning obligation, supplementary planning document, SPD consultation notification. Yeah, and that in itself gives you some indication of the nature of this particular document. Councillor Russell.
In spite of the awful wording and long title and all the rest of it, this is very important. We've talked recently in council about being more aware of what we should be asking Central Beds to put in Section 106 agreements, and that's what this document is all about. There is a second document called the Infrastructure Delivery Plan, which needs to be read in conjunction with this, but it's not being consulted on. It's only the supplementary planning document that's being consulted on, but because it is supplementary planning, it's very important to us. So what I would ask council to do, and what I'd like to propose, is that we defer this item, that we ask officers to get an extension, because the consultation finishes the day before our December meeting, but I'm sure they'd give us a day's extension. And I would like to have a look at the document in detail and to bring any proposals to the 12th of December meeting. They're very long documents, 370 pages in total. So I would appreciate if the office could supply me with printed copies of those documents. But that's my proposal, to defer and to allow me to bring something to 12th of December Council for colleagues to consider.
Councillor Strawn.
I'm more than happy to second that proposal, particularly in view of Councillor Russell's kind volunteering. But I hope officers would actually support Councillor Russell by making observations on the discussions that have been had fairly recently with Central Beds Council on what is Section 106 money that we can access, because I fear that we may have missed out in the past on Section 106 money. So I'm sure Councillor Russell will present an excellent report, but hopefully the officers will be able to fill in with what we haven't been able to use in the past and why not.
Any other comments then? I think just the reaction from members, Councillor Russell, I think very much welcome your support in this, and I think no better person for the job in this room, should I say? So, proposal seconded. All those in favour, then, please. Thank you. Right, next item then, item 9F, which is the Red Line Planning Appeal hearing. The reason this is being brought to us, we have obviously the event taking place 15th for 2 days. The clerk, I think, has put this on the agenda so that it's brought to our attention, a reminder brought to our attention, so that we are able to make sure, if we can, we have representation attending that meeting. So, do I have any comments in relation to this, please? Councillor Thomas.
Yeah, the meeting's actually tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. So we've got lots of time to plan what we're going to do. But I'm happy to go along and represent the council. If anybody wants to come along, feel free. But I think I'm doing the same as Councillor Russell, putting my head on the block for lots of time and effort between now and 10 o'clock tomorrow. So
thank you. So thank you, Councillor Thomas. So you're volunteering to attend tomorrow meeting. Yeah. Councillor Knight,
Thank you. So I think it is very important that we do send someone to represent the council. This building is within the conservation area of the town, and it appears to be clear that the current owner is completely disregarding planning law. We did object to this conversion to residential in April 2022. It was a comprehensive response. So I would like to propose that we authorise Councillor Thomas to attend the meeting and to represent the town council on our behalf.
Do I have a second of that proposal? Councillor Strawn, did you wish to speak as well?
Just could the CAT officers notify Central Beds that Councillor Thomas will be attending, assuming this proposal is passed?
Okay, so it's a proposed and second. Anyone else wish to speak? No. All those in favour then, please. Thank you. I think that's unanimous this time. Thank you. Dear. Right. Okay, so we're going to go then next on to planning applications. So the first one is 88 Lawrence Road, detached rear garden outbuilding and alteration to first floor front rear windows. Comments, please. Okay, Councillor Russell.
Subject to neighbours, I think.
The only thing I would say about this, and if I'm going to say from the chair, that this unless I'm misreading it, and I don't think the measure, it seems huge, 28 feet by 21 feet, 8.7 metres by 6.5 metres. It's a very, very big building. But that was my sort of observation in relation to it. I mean, I know they're looking to demolish a couple of buildings to offset the fact that it's taking up space in the garden. But I just wanted to raise that point from the chair. I think Councillor Alban, and do you want to say as well, Councillor Barrett?
Yeah, I think that if it's given permission, there should be conditions placed on it to prevent it from becoming a residence. If ever that was to happen, the access to it is not sufficient. So I think that condition should apply.
Okay, thank you.
I think my comments have been covered by yourself and Councillor Alban, that it is too big. It's for a gym, a music room and various other bits and pieces, but it very much looks like it is actually bedrooms and bathrooms and things like that. So I think it's a very good chance it would turn into that in the future. And I agree, it's huge. it's as big as the footprint of other houses along there.
So do I have a proposal then, formal proposal, please?
That we move no objection as long as a condition is applied to the permission that it should never be used for residential purposes.
Do I have a second for that? Any, Councillor Strawn?
Just an observation, the size of it and the nature of it it strikes me that they could also be used for commercial purposes. Is a possibility. So should there be a restriction on that? Because whilst if it's for leisure facilities, etc., that may be all right. But should there also be a restriction that it shouldn't be used for commercial purposes? That's a question.
So is that a proposed amendment to?
I'd appreciate other members' observations because I can see different comments going on, but it's just a concern that I have in view of the size and the description of it. It could be used for far more than just leisure, the owner's leisure facilities.
Councillor Alba?
I'm happy to add that if my second is happy.
Happy with that, Councillor? Councillor Russell?
I think if Councillor Alban's happy to, we should also make the comment that's been made about access. So no residential, no commercial because of the access.
So I'm just checking that from the, have you got that? Thank you. So no objection, subject to it not being residential and not being commercial on the basis of, and with access being a potential issue. All those in favour then, please. Thank you. Next item is 10B, 172 London Road, single storey side extension. Comments, please. Subject to neighbours, are we? Councillor Jones?
Subject to neighbours, but also following the advice from the CDC officers.
Okay. Happy with that, everyone? Yes, okay, thank you. 124 Drove Road. Sorry, beg your pardon. 12 Tate Drive, so 10C, single storey rear extension, conversion of garage to habitable room and store. Any comments?
I move to no objection.
No objection, subject to
The
neighbours.
garages are too small to be used, and I think there's representation up on the website explaining that as well.
Yeah. Okay, happy with that, members?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, thank you.
CDC
Yeah.
guidance as well to be followed.
So 10D, 124 Drove Road, 2-storey side extension with first floor rear Juliet balcony and alteration to existing fenestration. Comments, please. From the chair on this one. When I first saw this application, my concern was in relation to the parking, given that the size of the extension, the first impression was that it's a big extension and there's a loss of parking on the driveway. The highways officer appears to have read it that there is additional parking on the driveway. So I don't think I saw that particularly in the drawings. I'm not sure whether anyone else did, but I don't have a particular objection on the basis that the highways officer is happy that there is additional parking to meet the four bedrooms. The recommendation is for 3 parking spaces with 4 bedrooms, which the highways officer is satisfied is the case. But if no one else is seeing that there is a concern there, then we move no objection. Happy with that? Okay, thank you. 157 Home Court Avenue, single storey side extension to 10E. Comments? So move no objection. Okay, thank you. 75 The Rowlands, proposed drop curb. Move no objection. Okay, happy? Yep. Okay, 10G. Asda, Church Street, removal of condition 3, delivery driver, goods delivery hours, plan information, etc., etc. I'm not going to read the whole thing out. Comments, please. Councillor Alban.
I'd like to move that we object, simply because of it's 24/7 access they need. Currently, the delivery times are limited in order to protect the residents in that area, and there are a lot of residents there. So yeah, for the benefit of the residents, I think we should object.
Okay, councillor Knight.
Thank you. I'd like to second that, but request that we strongly object. So yes, essentially the owner is arguing that they need 24-hour deliveries, citing bizarre reasons like supply chain pressures resulting from as a result of COVID. Well, that was some time ago, and apparently the long-term effects of Brexit as well. But as we know, the only access to that store is along Church Street or through exiting through Rose Lane, and that is a narrow residential area, and I think it's completely unacceptable. I'm pleased to see one of our ward councillors has already called the application in, but the idea that the noise, the light pollution and the disruption to people in that residential area would be allowed 24 hours a day, I think is completely unacceptable.
Thank you, councillor Knight. Councillor Barrett.
Just a point of accuracy in the documents on the website, that the letter from the person representing Asda talks of the removal of condition 3 of the planning permission reference and so on. But then when it moves into the document, it actually talks about changes to condition 2. So there's mistakes in the letters to them. Now that may have been rectified by CBC, but I think that we should ask for accuracy around what they're talking about. When you go onto the second page, it then refers to sections of condition 3, but calls them condition 2. So from my point of view, I'd just like to have the accuracy around what it is they're actually applying for. I'm sure everyone really knows this is a document which I think will be used in determination.
Quite right. Okay. So we've got a proposal and a second in relation to strongly objecting to this proposal, essentially due to noise and the impact on local residents. Councillor Bowd also makes a comment about the inaccuracy of the documentation. Councillor Strawn.
I think in view of Councillor Barrett's comments on the inaccuracy and the possible ambiguity that there might be in the application, because of that, we should include within our objection reference to those ambiguities in the objection.
I absolutely agree. So are you happy to include that within your proposal? And the second are happy with that as well? Thank you. Any other comments then, please, before we go to the vote? Okay, all those in favour then, please. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Well done. Okay, item 11, plan and application outcomes. Any comments, please? No. No comments, so note the report then. Happy members, thank you very much. So we'll go, next item then is the accounts. Item 12A, what's as attached. Councillor Strawn.
Yes, note the officer's recommendations that members consider and approve the October financial management report. It's nicely set out there and explains where we're at on a very simple basis. The more detailed information is available for everyone to look at. But I think I'll move the recommendation effectively that we approve the report, but members will have considered it. So if they've got any quick comments, they should please make them now before we approve the proposal.
Okay, any other comments then, please? No, someone second that proposal, please? Councillor Barrett, all those in favour? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. So item 13, item for information. This is the Christmas light road closure. Switch on road closures. Any comments on that one? It's Councillor Strawn.
Yes, observation. I'm a bit confused by some of the wording because I think Bonds Lane has possibly been mentioned twice. I may be misreading it, but it says full length of Market Square and length of Station Road, Hitchin Street, Bonds Lane, which extends from High Street to Bonds Lane and Mill Lane. I think the bits are saying it should be Hitchin Street, which extends from High Street to Bonds Lane and Mill Lane, is actually the correct wording. It doesn't make sense otherwise to me, but I may be just being wrong and being very pedantic.
I think where it's possibly not clear is that Bonds Lane has got two intersections with the proposal. One is along Station Road, so Bonds Lane as it meets Station Road opposite the sorting office, and then there's the Bonds Lane as it meets Mill Lane, where the building work is taking place as it crosses Hitchin Street. So I think that's what it's getting at. It's not very clear, but essentially there's two intersections and Bonds Lanes between the two of them.
Okay, so
That's how I understand it, but I'm
is that
happy to.
do we wish to actually make any further comments in relation? Are we happy that, or not happy to take this? Given that we've got still got another week to go. Anything? Are we just happy to note that it's actually is we're happy with it?
I'm more than happy to propose we note it, because I'm very happy that it's been done. It just doesn't seem to read.
Thank you. Right, so no further clarification needed then. All those in favour of that, then thank you. Right, so we're going to move on then to, so we've got the public open session. Any members of the public wishing to speak in relation to any item not on the agenda? Anyone funder? No. So what I'm going to do now then, we will go, we're not going to go into an exempt session as yet. We will deal with item 9A, which is the Public Works Loan Board report. As I said at the beginning, there are a number of reports that are referenced within this Public Works report. If you wish to deal with any of the reports directly, then we will go to an exempt session. If you're happy to discuss them without making direct reference to the reports, and specifically some of the commercial elements in the exempt reports, then we'll happily discuss it. Other than that, we'll go into exempt, discuss the items line by line, and then come back out of the exempt session. So I've got Peter. You happy with that?
Yeah. Is it possible just to do a couple of updates before the session starts?
In relation to. Yes, of course. Yes. So yeah. So members, are you happy with this approach? Yeah. So, but if you do want to discuss anything that directly with the report, please make note and we'll go into exempt. Peter.
Thank you very much. So I'll keep this very short. There's just a couple of things which have slightly changed since we originated this report. Page 29 stays the same. Page 30, there's a small update. There's an action for me here partway down the page connected to getting some expertise from people who are involved in cemeteries on a regular basis. I reached out to the cemetery manager at Hendon Cemetery in Barnet, which is a significant size cemetery. And also they've got a transformation manager there as well, both of whom are qualified in cemetery management, and they've agreed to support us with the work going forward associated with this at no cost to the council. So I'm grateful for their support.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Page 31 stays the same. Page 32 stays the same. And one update on page 33, which talks about the Drove Road site development for tennis courts and bowls club. We had a LTA representative come on board this week and take some samples of the tennis courts, because we wanted to ascertain whether or not going forward, when we actually present a detailed report to council with a variety of different options, whether or not we could build upon the tarmac or whether it would need to be taken away. The LTA representative was very clear that actually the surface is not good enough to build upon. Effectively, it would have to be completely taken away and either 3 or potentially 4 courts rebuilt. And in a circular indicative cost, and obviously we're not talking about commercials at the moment, is in their experience, it's normally approximately £30,000 per court to be considered another time. So detailed report to follow, Chair.
Thank you very much. So members, that you have the report in front of you. And as I say, I appreciate that there are elements that are sort of relate to the exempt papers. So, but it's over to you to make your comments, and Councillor Russell.
Well, may we take the recommendations here, the different items individually, please?
Absolutely.
I don't think it's something we could take en bloc. So I've been thinking about recommendation 1, and I think we should go forward with a loan amount for Brunel Drive, for the equipment for Brunel Drive, not for anything else. And I think that the term should be quite short, 12 years. So that would be my proposal, that we go ahead with a loan for the equipment for Brunel Drive for a term of 12 years.
I've got councillor Knight.
Thank you.
Councillor Thomas.
Thank you. So I agree with the proposal. I think it's a really exciting project and I think it's good for the community. Maybe it's me, I'm a little bit confused by the amount because on page 30, it mentions an amount just under 45,000. And then on the next page, I think it is, it mentions an amount that is 46,000, net effect on future borrowing 46,000. So I'm not sure which is the right number, maybe the clerk can clarify, but I would like that amount to be in the resolution if possible as well, please.
Okay, so the overall net figure, when you look at this as an overall perspective, is 46,000, which takes into consideration the sum particular to the recommendation put forward by Councillor Russell, plus a part fund element connected to Drove Road Chapel. So most of Drove Road Chapel would be hooked up by the underspend from the previous year, but a small portion would be added on to the overall loan.
So are you saying that the 46,000 here includes Drove Road Chapel?
Tiny small proportion of it does, yeah.
But why? Because we've got Drove Road Chapel mentioned separately.
Because part of that is funded from the old year and part would be funded from a new year.
Okay, so to clarify then, so we've got a small amount of a potential additional borrowing that you would need to, which is where that number comes from. So it's the 46,000 is the commercial element of the Brunel plus additional bit from Drove Road. Is that what you're saying? Yep.
Yeah, it is. And it's, if you look at the top of page 31, where it talks about Drove Road, it says the net position is 1079. So most of it is taken from the underspend, but there's a small proportion because of a variety of different things that have been happening at the Drove Road Cemetery.
Okay, Councillor Russell.
In which case, I think I'm agreeing with Councillor Knight that the amount should be put down, and it sounds to me as if it's 44,994, because the next recommendation is about Drove Road Chapel. So I think what I'm now recommending is that 44, whatever it is, 994 should be taken as part of a PWLB loan over 12 years, and it's for the equipment at Brunel Drive.
Second that.
Okay, any other comments? And Councillor Strawn?
Yes, I note the period of 12 years. Could we please be advised of the lifetime of the equipment that we're buying? Because I would prefer, if it's only 10 years or so, I prefer that we had it for the approximate lifetime of it rather than extend it. The additional cost is comparatively small per year by shortening the term, and I also note that if I've got it right, over to between 10 and 12 years, we get the lowest interest rate possible as well, which is but I don't think we should be borrowing beyond the lifetime of that equipment.
Okay. So, thank you for that comment. Yeah, we were very conscious of the fact that the majority of this equipment is not going to be lasting significant periods of time. It's wood related. Perhaps if Chair would allow and members would allow, our colleagues at the back would be able to give us some advice connected to the age of the equipment. Yeah.
15, did you?
15.
So it's 50, so 15 years is the lifetime. Are we happy that, so we've got 10 years, Councillor Strawn, 12 years, we're saying, where do we want to go with this?
Just to clarify, I was just querying the length of time. 15 years is more than 12 years, so I'm happy to go with the 12 years.
Okay, so the proposal is for 12 years for the amount of 44,000. Then is there anything else, Councillor Thomas?
I'd like to second it.
Okay.
Second it.
Has he seconded it?
I think Councillor Knight had seconded. So it's not only me. So all those in favour then, please. That I think is not unanimous. Any against then, please? Any abstentions? Abstentions. Okay. So that is carried. Thank you very much. Councillor Russell, did you want to go on to the next one?
Okay, well, I think we need a figure in this now. We need to know what the figure is that we're borrowing from PWLB for Drove Road. I'm quite happy with what's being proposed, but we need a figure so that we have a full recommendation here.
Go ahead, Peter.
Okay, so the net figure, after you'd taken into consideration the underspend, would be a figure of £1,079.
Okay, in which case I'm proposing that the £1,079 for Drove Road Chapel Phase 2 is included in the Public Works Loan Board amount that's drawn down.
Over a period of 12 years in the same way as.
I think so, for an amount like that, yes.
Do I have a second to that proposal, please? Councillor Thomas, anyone else wishing to comment? Councillor Knight?
I think this is important work, but as an overspend for an existing project and for such a relatively small amount, I question whether it should actually just come from capital reserves.
Peter?
I think that would be, in the scheme of things, it would be a more cost-effective option. There's no impact in regard to percentage borrowing.
Okay.
In which case, I wonder why this recommendation was put to council in the first place. But I'm happy to bow and say that we change the recommendation that the 1,079 comes from capital reserves, if that's what colleagues are happy with.
So that's an amended proposal. We have
I'll second that.
Seconded. Okay. All those in favour then, please. Thank you very much. That is carried. So the next one then is item 3. Did you wish to comment any further on that one? Go on, Peter, before we go ahead.
So just to highlight this for members, obviously we've already begun work on this and we've made significant strides already in regard to putting together a very detailed report for your options to consider. Obviously we were waiting for the grounds works advice before we could go forward. Because we're kind of in a kind of interim position at the moment, and obviously our recommendation here is that when we have the full facts and members have determinations, that this would be sourced from tranche 3. It would not be an item for consideration in the current tranche.
Okay. Councillor Russell.
It concerns me that we're actually being asked to spend money from capital reserves when, as a council, we haven't had any concept designs, any idea of what we're working towards. Presumably, the money from capital reserves would be to appoint the relevant professionals to develop things. But I think that we, as a council, should be looking at the overall concept and deciding how it's going to work with the Bowls Club, how we think we might want to run it in the future before we go ahead any further with this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Skilton.
Yeah, just sort of maybe a bit further to what Councillor Russell was saying. Has the council actually decided that we want to redevelop this site as a, even before we get to a concept stage? Is it something we want to do? Because I don't sort of recall it coming to council since I've been a councillor, and I don't recall sort of public consultation or anything like that on it. And so it's come up in Capital Assets Working Group, which I know I've brought up in PLOS before, where things sort of come up in that meeting and then appear on agendas without necessarily if all councillors being aware of it. And also just sort of on this one specifically, no, that's it really.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Knight.
Thank you. I agree. I think this is premature. I would like to understand the vision, the demand, the catchment area, competing facilities in the area. What we think utilisation would be, and I don't think we should, proceed with this work until we've started to look at that from a more theoretical and visionary perspective. So I think this needs to be deferred.
Okay, Councillor Strawn.
To some extent, I think this proposal is putting the cart before the horse, in terms that I'd rather like to know what the detailed report and the information is, because we're looking at spending money from capital reserve on this proposal, and yet we don't really know what we're spending it on. So I think we should actually have a bit more detail in the report before we actually start committing ourselves to expenditure of that nature, because I think we've got a lot of expenditure to consider, and it's something we might consider in the budgeting process, but we've made no decision on this to date. So I think we should have the detailed report before we start looking at the spending the money.
Councillor North.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, basically I agree with what has been said already in terms of this is a bit premature, but just to point out that when we were originally considering the whole issue of the PWLB and the capital projects, the improvements to the council's offerings, the tennis courts was one of the items that was in the sort of initial indicative plan, which is a sort of partial answer to Councillor Skilton's point about has this ever been discussed before? Because the answer really is yes, it has, but only in the very broadest outline terms of part of the longer term, the whole long-term view of the 3-year plan of the PWLB loan. We haven't got into any detail, and as Councillor Strawn pointed out, we haven't really, it's not been discussed in council or in PLOS what the scope of it is to be, how it's going to work, and Town Clerk himself has said it's not entirely clear whether we want to just refurbish the 3 courts we've got now or add in a 4th, because there is space there for a 4th court, as we all know. And all these things have not really been discussed. So to start talking about funding for things at this stage, it just does seem a little bit premature at the moment.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to the Peter. Did you want to make any other comments?
Only to say that I think obviously the detailed options paper, going back to what Councillor Knight was saying, will look at all the information that he's just described, and then you'll come to a view about whether you have any support. There's a variety of options on the table. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Russell.
What's concerning me is that the detailed report that the clerk refers to is what's going to be costing us money from capital assets, because that's what it seems to be saying here in the recommendation. And what I'm trying to say, and I think other councillors are trying to say, is we shouldn't be spending any money until we've had a discussion about what we think we might want to do with that site.
Okay, so Councillor Thomas.
Yeah, I think what we've traditionally done is discuss this sort of thing at PLOS, because this is a PLOS matter really, and then flesh it out and give a recommendation to council. That hasn't happened here. It's skipped all the processes and just popped up on the page. It shouldn't come up as a recommendation, and we just, as the clerk said, he'll go away, work some stuff out, bring it to PLOS, and then maybe come to council once we need a decision. And it makes more sense. We spent too much time talking about it now, and I've taken too much time talking about it now. It shouldn't have been here. So,
okay,
can we learn from this and just? It's a nice idea, but it's too raw, and just say no and move on.
Okay, so can I have a proposal then from the floor, please, Councillor North?
Well, I propose that we don't agree to this, but we do ask the Chief Executive and Town Clerk to complete the detailed report of options, which will be presented to the PLOS meeting on the 30th of January, and where the thing will be further discussed by the PLOS members, and a more detailed recommendation will come out of that to council.
Okay, do I have a second for that proposal? Councillor Strawn, I've never had a few people. Any other comments before we go to the vote? Okay, all those in favour then, please, of that? Okay, that is carried. Okay. Next item then, capital asset improvements work to be sourced from council's capital reserves. Peter, do you want to just touch on that one? Is it?
Could we know what it's for?
Is this the architectural elements?
It's for completing the final registrations.
Oh, right.
Oh,
with the land
registry.
registry.
Right.
Okay.
Does it really need to come from capital assets? Is the budget so tight at the moment? That's what I'd ask, because it's only £500. I'm asking the clerk and the finance manager.
My personal preference is it should come from capital reserve.
Okay, so
it's a preference, but what I'm asking is the budget so tight that we can't afford £500 by borrowing from something?
Yeah.
So the clerk is saying we can afford it, but the recommendation is that we source some capital. I'm looking for a proposal, please.
My proposal is that we take it from our revenue account rather than the capital assets for the 500.
Seconded.
All those in favour of that proposal, please. Okay, thank you very much. That's carried. Item 5, members defer a decision to borrow in relation to Stratton Cemetery until a new specification has been agreed and the tendering exercise is complete. If and when agreement is commitment should be sourced from tranche 3 funding. Comments, please. Councillor Russell.
Since the 5 and 6 are both to defer, I'm happy to propose that we agree that we defer them because we need a lot more information.
So 5 and 6 deferred as recommended. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Oh, sorry, you seconded. All those in favour then, please. Okay. So given that we have, so that's the public element, there are exempt items. Did you wish to go into to discuss any of the exempt items? I'm not getting a sense that there is anything that we need to discuss in relation to those, given we've made decisions in relation to this. So I'm looking for someone to propose that we close the meeting at this point. Happy to close.
Happy to close it.
Seconder. All those in favour of closing? Okay.